Chapter 23. It was almost midnight when I heard them. There must have been at least 20 people gathering on our doorstep, chanting something that sounded like, "Assault! Assault!" It took me a second to realize I wasn't dreaming, and when I did, I shot up and looked around frantically. Wiki and I had conked out in the living room while watching old monster movies. The TV was off, it was basically pitch black, and the chanting was getting louder and louder. Blackbeard? Did he somehow summon his pirates? So this was it. Our worst nightmare was actually happening. It was all over. My dad came rushing down the stairs, and when he opened the door, people came flooding into the living room screaming. I froze as 20 shadows surrounded us, every one of them holding something different in their hands that I couldn't quite make out. For a second, it was quiet until one of them shouted, "Now, ahora!" And as someone flicked the lights on, they all began to scream. No, not exactly scream, more like singing. Really loud singing with instruments. They were all holding instruments. Wiki shot up shrieking, "Blackbeard! Pirates! We're done for!" And then I started laughing. See, this is actually a totally normal thing that happens to Puerto Rican houses from time to time. These weren't pirates, they were dad's friends. This was a parranda. You know how during the holidays, Christmas carolers will ring your doorbell, sing you a song or two, and then leave? Yeah, the Puerto Rican version of Christmas caroling is way more intense. It's called a parranda and also an asalto, assault. A bunch of friends get together with instruments, and once it's night and late, and most normal people are sleeping, they head to a friend's or neighbor's house, bang on their door, and wake them up with their preposterously loud singing. Now, here's where it gets wild. As a Puerto Rican, you aren't allowed to be mad or go back to sleep or keep your door shut. You have to let them in, feed them all, sing with them, and then join them as they go to the next house to do the exact same thing. As it gets later and later, the group of people in a parranda grows and grows, and they raid friends' pantries and fridges and basically eat all the food at house after house after house, getting louder and louder after every one. Sometimes until 4 in the morning. Oh, and here in New Brittany, the Puerto Ricans love parandas so much they do them year round. All of this might sound awful and it might sound completely bonkers, but I actually love it. And hey, it meant that we weren't about to get sliced and diced in the comfort of our living room, so that was a plus. "Hobby, feed us," some of the people shouted at me between songs. "We're starving." "Do you know these people?" Wiki yelped as he put on his glasses to get a better look at the chaos around us. "Because we should call the cops." "These are Dad's friends," I said as I jumped out of my sleeping bag, high fived some of the folks who were there, and headed to the kitchen. Dad's crew loves to come parranda at our house because they know I make all the best food. I opened the fridge to take stock of what I could feed them. Dad's amigos were in luck. I'd made a kingly feast a few days ago, and there were plenty of leftovers. When I closed the fridge to pull out some plates, Aunt Nancy was sitting on the kitchen counter recovering from a laugh attack. "Did you see his face, Javi? Did you see Wiki's face?" "Oh, that was so very worth it." Aunt Nancy never missed a parranda because nothing makes her happier than a good prank. Reason number 9,629 that she's the best adult ever. "I honestly thought his head was going to explode," I chuckled, "but I kind of thought mine would too. You three have seemed so stressed lately. You could use a little fun, especially after the incident in the woods," she said. I nodded heavy nods. She wasn't wrong. "Now tell me how you want me to help. I'll be your sous chef. What's on the menu?" In no time, the two of us were heating up plates and putting them on Andy, calling out each dish as we did. Soon there must have been 30 people crammed into our dining room and singing at the top of their lungs as they stuffed their faces. Meanwhile, we got to work on Jiorito sandwiches, a sandwich superior to all sandwiches because instead of bread, you use, wait for it, tostones. Yeah, double fried plantains as a bun with meat, lettuce, tomato, and mayo inside. If great food made heads explode, this would bomb your brains. "Don't these people understand the nature of circadian rhythms?" Wiki moaned as Aunt Nancy and I flipped tostones. "It's detrimental to one's health to be awoken and roused at this time of night. The music alone will make sleep nearly impossible for hours afterwards. Eat, Wiki, before it's all gone," Dad said as he walked by. "The shrimp that falls asleep gets taken by the current." Wiki raised an eyebrow. "Huh?" Aunt Nancy winked at Dad and they laughed. Here, help me carry this, I said to Wiki as he made a face at me. Between the two of us, we heaved out the mammoth plate of sandwiches and laid it in the middle of Andy, who must have been sagging under the weight of all the food, plus two guys with guitars sitting on him as they led the sing-alongs. I headed back to the semi-quiet kitchen to clean up some of the mess. Aunt Nancy was already washing pans, humming a Caribbean song to herself, and smiling that trademark wicked smile as she did a little dance. When she saw me, she clapped loudly. Javier Santiago, the hero of the parranda. 3 cheers for the hero. Hero? I was hardly a hero. Wait, a hero? It hit me like a ton of bricks. No, harder than that. It hit me like a giant dump truck carrying 10 tons of bricks, driven by 2 extra chunky hippos. How else do you face the baddest bad guy of all time with the bestest good guy of all time? I whispered to myself. I hugged a surprised Aunt Nancy and raced out of the kitchen to find Vicky and Brady. Okay, guys, I've got it. The way we defeat the pirate. I dragged them up to my room to explain my plan. Think about it. You keep saying that Beardo is the worst villain of all time. Well, I've read enough comics to know that the only surefire way to defeat an epic villain is with an epic hero. I smiled triumphantly, but they both looked annoyed. Summon a hero? Javi, I literally had that idea the day after we summoned Blackbeard, Brady said. Wiki shot it down because he thinks summoning anyone else is the worst idea. Wiki nodded at Brady, then rolled his eyes at me. That's why I gave the bell to the principal. You don't get it, I said. Guys, if Principal Gale summoned Frida Kahlo, then I'm sure there are other historical folks at our school, and I bet there's someone who can face Freakbeard and win. We just need to find them. Wiki curled his hands slowly into fists in front of his face, his favorite thing to do when he was super frustrated. Javi, enough is enough. For the last time, there aren't famous knights and samurai swords and heroes of yore wandering the halls of Finisterre. Miss Calderon isn't Frida Kahlo. In fact, if you mention Frida Kahlo one more time, my head will actually explode. Crash! Something heavy shattered on the dining room floor. We all gasped and then peeked out of my room to see shattered glass. Dad's favorite vase. The music stopped instantly and everyone got really quiet. As wild as parrandas can get, you're not supposed to actually destroy someone's house at one. Dad's friends all looked over at him. For a good 5 seconds, he stared at the shattered glass, horrified, then looked up at his buddies and shrugged. On to the next house, someone said. Vámonos, amigos, asalto, asalto. His friends all cheered and they paraded out of the house singing at the top of their lungs. My dad waved to them from the door, explaining that he couldn't just abandon his kids in the middle of the night. Before he shut it, he turned to the 3 of us. You guys are good sports. Wiki practically followed them out, shaking his head at me the whole way. Don't talk to me tomorrow. One of us has to come up with a viable plan. I don't know how late we went to bed, but I hibernated all of Sunday. I spent the entire day cross-referencing my yearbook with Dad's encyclopedias, hoping for a face to match. It was a supremely dumb and pointless activity, but it helped me completely forget about the madness awaiting us at school.